Welcome back to Elite Canine Unleashed. I'm Chris. I'm a former law enforcement canine handler. I'm also a professional dog trainer, along with owning Idaho Elite Canine Training and Boarding Suites.
And I'm Rachel Norman, co-owner of Idaho Elite Canine Training and Boarding Suites, focusing on business growth, marketing, and making sure everything runs smoothly behind the scenes at Idaho Elite Canine. We built this business from the ground up to share what we've learned with you about dog training, business, and everything else in between.
So a little bit of my background, I worked for the local sheriff's office for the last 17 years. I ran a dual purpose bite and drug dog for patrol and detection dog. Prior to that, growing up, we're big hunters. We had a whole bunch of hounds. We used to track bears, cats, mountain lions, bobcats. And I've had pretty much dogs my entire life from the time I was little. That's little of my history as far as being in the dog world.
Yeah, and on my side, my background's in entrepreneurship, a lot of e-commerce. We own another business in the transportation industry that I ran since before we were even married. That was our first business venture together. It still runs to this day. So I do a lot of things with marketing and business growth and just really things that can kind of help us scale our business and day-to-day operations around Idaho Elite Canine. So that's a little bit about who we are and how we got here. And so Chris shared, that he recently left law enforcement. So I thought it would be cool if you kind of shared with everyone why you decided to take the jump from law enforcement and us starting this training and boarding facility that we've opened up here locally in Southeast Idaho.
Yeah, so we started training. I started just going to people's houses probably 6 years ago, just on the side. Part of the reason we were doing it on the side was because we needed some extra money. And another reason is I got to go to lots of people's houses being in law enforcement and seeing that most people had no control over their dogs. When we would go into people's houses, you get bit or they're trying to call their dogs, they're trying to get their dogs to put them in the backyard or in a back bedroom because they can't control them. So I got to see a lot of dogs that had a ton of issues and really just got to see that owners generally didn't have a very good idea on how to train their dogs. So I thought with my knowledge, I can start kind of doing that on the side, and that's kind of how that got started. And we've just grown and grown and grown, and over the last 6 years or so, we had the opportunity to move into a facility. We were in a 2,500, 3,000 square foot facility, and from there it continued to grow. So we just moved into just shy of 12,000 square feet facility. We now have 46 boarding kennels. We can board up to 56 dogs. We have 2 large training bays, and we do everything from basic obedience, advanced obedience, bite work, detection, tracking, and everything in between.
Yeah, we do have just kind of a interesting advantage with Chris's background where he's done so many things that we're able to help just the average pet owner looking to get into some obedience for their dog training up to police canines and some of those specialty training needs like diabetic dogs and things like that, helping people get into scent work even if they're not into law enforcement.
Yeah, we do AKC scent so people can go compete doing that. We're working on a diabetic dog. We're working possibly we'll be working on a mold dog here pretty soon. So we do all sorts of other stuff.
All sorts of stuff. It's been really cool to bring Chris's love of training and his knowledge into our business and offer that to all of our clients and to the local community. So how do you feel about the transition from being in law enforcement to now owning and running Idaho Elite Canine Training and Boarding Suites? Do you feel like there's been like a transitional period for you?
There has a few things. I thought I worked a lot as a police officer, right? We get called out all times of night, answer our phones 24/7, at least in my position I did. I thought I worked a lot then.
We work a lot now.
We work a lot more now. Yeah, our days run anywhere from 14 to 18 hours a day. day after day after day.
But at least we're together.
Yeah, we're together, and we're enjoying it. It just is something that runs. I mean, even Sunday's the only day we're closed, but we still have animals here, so we still have to be here and making sure they're getting taken care of.
Absolutely.
Some other big transitions. It was very, 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 very scary to go from having a job that I've been at for the last 17 years, having a set paycheck, knowing that I have that money coming in every 2 weeks, to jumping and
going all in,
hoping that we get paid each month, right?
But it's gone very well, and I think better than both of us expected. I still remember the day that Chris sat me down and was like, hey, we have this opportunity. And when I say I had to be talked into it a little bit, it wasn't the business side. Like, the training side was doing great. We were growing, we were scaling. It was fantastic. I think it was more that I knew how many hours it was going to take for us to have to be here every day to get it off the ground with a big, beautiful new facility, and the amount of just hours it was going to take to have to grow it. And I also, side note, don't do well with things that smell bad. So I was like, I just don't know. I didn't really envision myself being in a boarding facility and having to stay there all the time. And every boarding facility I've ever been in has been like it just hasn't smelled great. And so I was just like,
no, ours smells amazing.
Ours smells amazing.
And will, because if she walks back there and it stinks, she's the test. If she walks back there, then
if
it stinks, she lets us all know.
We have a problem, which thankfully never really happens. So and I think that's one of the things that we're really proud of about our facility is the way that it smells, the way the dogs smell when they go home, and things like that. But going back to what I was saying, I remember the day that Chris sat me down and was just like, hey, I really think we need to do this. We need to go all in on this. We know what our life is going to look like if we continue on the path that we're on. Just the way they kind of structure things with the agency that Chris was at, he kind of knew up to retirement, like what you would be making by the time you retired. And we just really felt like, given our prior business ownership and things like that, that we could take where we were at, and especially having the opportunity to add the boarding with the training and doing some police canines as well, that we could really, really grow and scale this into something that we really could both be proud of together. And it's been really great to see the growth when we look back to where we were a year ago, 16 months ago, 6 months ago. The growth is really astronomical, and it's been really cool to accomplish something that he had his dream set on when he decided he wanted to make a change in his life, to be able to grow and support each other together and watch the growth, because it's grown quickly, and to be able to scale it together, it's been cool to help make something that was a dream of his come true as a team.
Yeah, month after month we get better, that's for sure. That's what we strive towards. We keep looking back where we were 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 12 months ago, and we just continue to grow, and that's our goal. We continue to grow together. Growing can be painful sometimes, and it takes a ton of work, but we really did make the decision or sat down and discussed it together, because I absolutely loved being a cop. There was nothing bad about what I was doing. There was nothing I didn't necessarily like. I actually enjoyed.
You were really great at it.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed my job very much. But you only live once, and we didn't want to keep thinking and planning and thinking and what if we did this. So we just went for it, and that way we'll know one way or another. But there's no talking about we should have done this or we should have done that. We just made the jump, and here we are.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said when you feel called to do something, you feel called to make a change, even when it's scary, taking the big chances and being willing to jump. And I think having a partner by your side that supports you, listens to what you're wanting to build and what you're wanting to create. Some things really, really can only be created if the person by your side is 100% in with you and willing to dive in head first and just have faith in each other and yourselves, that you guys have the skills and the tools to make it work, and then it's all going to work out. And so I think I'm really grateful that we've had that through this transition of going to a life that we've known. Chris and I, when we were dating, was in law enforcement. So in our marriage, that's all we've ever known. Like that was the only life we'd ever known, was that career in law enforcement. And so it took, I mean, we've owned some other businesses. Like I said, I have a background in transportation and a few other things that I ran from home while he did that. But as far as like our steady income, it was law enforcement. And when you're in law enforcement, it does kind of become like its own little family too. And so it was hard to walk away from that for lots of reasons. So I'm grateful that we've had each other through the transition, because it has been a transition.
Yep. But it's been good, and here we are.
What do you feel like the differences have been from you leaving law enforcement to building this business to the scale that it is now? Like, do you think you had to push yourself and grow in ways that were different from when you were in law enforcement?
Yeah. Just the amount of sheer time that is spent here. Right? It is one of those things that it's ours, and at the end of the day, we got to make it work. We got to be here, and so time-wise, it's a lot. Hiring and dealing with employees. I supervised 12 or 13 in my last position with the sheriff's office.
You did supervise quite a few.
And supervising, I would say, it's been a lot different than actually interviewing and trying to hire people.
Building our own team.
Yeah, we've probably done 30, 40 interviews, and we've hired 4.
We did have a team of 5, but we're working on building the team is a work in progress every day.
Yeah, so that was a little different. And then just the sheer scale, right? We've got tons of training going on. We're looking for more trainers to help with that. We've got boarding going on. We've got board and trains. We've got police dogs. We've got just all sorts of things. So it is just a lot, and you got to stay on top of everything every day. But it's been a fun journey so far. We've learned to work together. We have some other businesses together, but we've never really had to work together like day in and day out. And the first couple of weeks took a little work to figure out how we were going to do that. And now she does a really good job of helping build the company and support me. And I try to do the best I can to support her. And it seems like we're doing good.
And he does an amazing job training all the dogs, from pet dogs to police canines and any other specialty training that needs to be done. And that's a really great thing, because if I had to train dogs, probably no one would come see us. It is not my thing. So it's been really great to blend like his gift of being able to train really well and help people reach their training goals, whether they're just getting started or they have advanced training goals. And I've been able to bring my background in entrepreneurship and e-commerce and marketing to the table to be able to help us grow and scale quickly. And so I think like the combination of his background and my background together has really been a lot of what's propelled us to be able to grow this business to where it is today, which has been really great to be able to utilize both of our strengths to leverage the growth of Idaho Elite Canine.
She is really good at the things that I'm not good at, and I try to be pretty good at the things that she's not good at, so it's a perfect match.
It really is. And I thought it would be kind of cool if we could talk about some of the things that we've learned over this last year while we were opening this and growing this, like some things that we learned along the way. And I think it just would be really great for people who are maybe looking at starting a dog training business or have been training are looking at maybe wanting to open a facility or something, just to be able to share some things that we've learned through the process.
Yeah, I would say make sure you talk to people. We went to some conferences in Vegas, which kind of really helped some of this. We looked around other facilities. We talked to people there. We have friends in the dog world. We've got some friends in Pocatello that we've talked to. I think as dog trainers, dog facilities, I feel like a lot of times we just try to compete against each other instead of like coming together and working together and trying to help each other. And so having that ability, especially at the conference, there's still people that we talk to, having that ability to reach out to people, and when you have questions, just being able to ask. We'd never built a large-scale boarding facility. Obviously, we'd had the training side. I had been to kennels before for our police side of things when I went to trainings, and I've seen kind of large facilities. So I had a rough idea on how I wanted the facility set up, how I wanted drains throughout the facilities, and so being able to do that, I think, made that piece a little easier because we had seen it. So I had a general idea. We tweaked some things, but I had a general idea of what we want to do as far as the kennels, or at least the kennel bay. As far as kennels, we looked and looked and looked. I think the kennels we went with for now we like, but they're
good.
Yeah, they've been good kennels. Some of the kennels I really wanted were probably 3 or 4 times the amount we paid for these ones.
Absolutely.
So maybe at some point, as the facility moves on, we'll maybe start phasing out the old kennels and putting in new kennels. But for cost, we weren't able to go with the exact kennels we wanted to start with. But the kennels we have been nice. So.
And sometimes it's about just starting with where you're at and what you have, and as you grow, then you can replace what you've got and get the things that you were originally wanting as you push forward and are able to create more revenue.
Yeah, what I encourage people that are trying to do this is sometimes you just gotta move forward. If you plan something forever, I'm big on that. Like, let's just plan and plan and plan. We've talked about doing something like this for
A very, very long time.
years.
Yeah.
And you keep planning and you keep planning, and then you think, well, maybe or maybe I won't, and then you keep planning. You could plan forever and never do it. So I think something to be said is if you are really wanting to try to do something like this, put a plan together and act on the plan. If not, you'll plan it forever. So yes, plan, have a good understanding of what you want to do, but nothing's perfect. We're going to improve as we grow. We're going to improve. We improve every day. We find things that work really good and things that don't work. And I mean, we set time aside each week for training employees, training on how to train dogs working with our employees on that, policy and procedure, all sorts of stuff that goes into a business. We actually put on the schedule to make sure it happens. So.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it on all areas, not just, I mean, if Chris had his way, he'd show up and just get to train dogs all day, and that is the bread and butter piece of the business, but there's a lot of behind the scenes pieces that go into making a successful business run. And so I think utilizing all of those aspects and being able to, like Chris said, just make a plan and jump in and keep going. And I think Chris and I were just talking about this earlier today, but as a business owner and as any of our other fellow business owners can definitely relate to, I think there's this tenacity that entrepreneurs have that allows them to be built differently than people who are willing to jump in and build something big on the entrepreneurship level. And I think that tenacity has to really help you when you're coming up against the hardships and the challenges and the days where you want to quit and the days where you worked 16, 18 hours a day for weeks on end and you don't want to keep going, and maybe that excitement starts to wear off, and it is just sheer determination that makes you keep going and pushing for the growth and scaling and hitting those goals that you set out to accomplish. And so I think having your why in mind is also really important. Like, why did I set out to do this? Because there's going to be days when you're sick, and there's going to be days when you're tired, and there's going to be days when you don't have enough help, or maybe you have an employee call in sick and things are just not running the way you want them to. There will be hard days. And I think the flip side to that is there are days where you smash a revenue goal that you've been waiting to get for a long time, or you get to coach an employee through something that they have really, really been wanting to learn and helping coach them to reach those goals. And those are the days that it's like, oh, I love what I do. I'm so grateful I'm an entrepreneur. I'm so grateful that I get to build what I'm building. And I think it helps when you have someone that you get to build it with together. So I think it's just, there's been a lot of learning over the years, but I would say everything Chris said, like create a plan, know your why, and really lean into that why when it gets hard, and celebrate the days that are easy, because the successes are so good when they come.
Yeah, but you work hard. You work hard for them. So there are lots of days we wake up and we just worked an 18-hour day, and you're back up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're back here for another 18-hour day, and it can get difficult. It seems like sometimes there's no end in sight. That's when you got to stay a little positive. You got to lean on each other a little bit. She has good days. I have good and bad days. She has good and bad days.
It's a balance.
Yeah, and on those days are the days that I need to step up, and the days when I'm not doing great, those are days that she can step up a little bit. But we are really trying to set this up to where we really grow with our employees. We help them be successful in whatever they want to be successful in. They're not just here. We're not looking to hire people that just come and go. We're looking to hire people that stay with us and that can grow with us and that become successful with us, and in turn we'll help them be successful in whatever they want to be successful in. If that's not staying here, if that's moving on, if that's doing something else, then we're going to help them do that. So we're big on trying to have team goals, personal goals for all of our people, including us. We have meetings once a week, and we talk about those things. So I think that, and this is our first episode of podcasting, so we'll get better over time. But
more so just like an introduction for you guys to get to know who we are, as we help share what we've learned and what Chris's knowledge about dog training, what we've learned about building the business, and how we've done it together.
And I don't necessarily think this isn't all going to be about dog training. Yes, a lot of it is, and the business and questions, and we're happy to answer questions. But some of this too is going to be about building businesses, working together, growing. It's going to be about other stuff too, not just all dog stuff. But the majority of what we're going to talk about is dog stuff. So, but we'll in between that, I think it's important to try to encourage people, let you know what we've been through, and encourage you to chase your dreams and do what you want to do too. So
yeah, I agree. Do you feel like there's anything we had to learn the hard way over this last year as we were getting the new facility open that we might want to share with you?
Let's see, what do we learn the hard way? That's usually how I learn. I'm a slow learner. I got to learn things the hard way sometimes. It's just how it is. Let's see, what did we learn the hard way? Well, everybody probably knows this if you've ever built a house or done construction. It's never going to open when you think it's going to open. So when you have a date in mind and you're going to do all this stuff, it's probably not going to happen then. So give yourself an extra month or two room for your opening. Staff or employees was a hard one to start with, because you're in that balance of, we've got to be able to pay people, but we got to be able to pay ourselves. We got to be able to kind of having that piece of, one, having a little faith that, hey, we're going to get dogs coming through the door for boarding. We're going to get training coming through, so that we can have people help, because there's no way without an awesome team that we could be doing everything we're doing. We have a boarding facility that we can board up to 56 dogs. We have kennels primarily set up for 48.
If needed, we can expand and house 56.
So it was not possible for me to be training all day and be dealing with the dogs that are boarding, because we are not just like your standard boarding facility where the dogs are going to go in kennels and they just stay in the kennel all day. We have enrichment activities. We have 3 large yards dogs get to play in, do different activities. We have treadmills. We have all sorts of add-ons, that brain puzzles, IQ puzzles, snuffle. We have all sorts of other stuff that we try to enrich or do enrichment activities with. So there was no way we were going to be able to do all of that and be training and be doing other stuff. So at that point, we just hired some staff, and we've probably done, 40 interviews, and we probably hired, we have 4 total. Mm-hmm. And it's taken a long time to get to those 4. My advice on that is do lots of interviews, be slow to hire, and We actually do a working interview now, which
A paid working interview.
yeah, so where they come work for a couple days, we do a working interview with them where we pay them, and that way after 2 or 3 days we know, because people can look great on paper, people can even do great in interviews, and then when you actually spend a couple days working with them, you see that maybe they don't have the work ethic that you're going to want, or they're not great at taking direction, or lots of different things come up. Sometimes we've had, first day they come to us and say, yeah, this isn't really the job. This isn't really what I thought it was going to be. This is not something I want to do. So it just gives you that opportunity to work together and really decide if that's what you want to do. If you want to hire them, if they want to work here.
Working interview has really been a fantastic idea, and I think it also helps with having such quick turnover with your employees as well, because you get to have your sit-down interview, then they get to have the working interview, or they kind of get to work in whatever area of the business that we've interviewed them for. So they get to see if it's a good fit for them, we get to see if it's a good fit for us, and then after that, employment offer is offered, and we kind of go from there.
So that's some things that we've kind of learned. I supervised 13 at my last, at I think 12 or 13 in my last job. So I thought that I'd be pretty good at, hiring and doing all that stuff. Still a big learning curve. Not as good as we thought we were going to be at it, and it's taken time. The people that we have hired have been absolutely amazing.
Amazing. You
Like,
have a really good team.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. The only way we could do this is with a good team. So we learned that. What else did we learn the hard way? Things cost more money than what you think. Always. So plan whatever you think something's going to cost. Maybe add 20-25% to that, and you might be in the ballpark then. So it's always going to cost more than what you think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'd say just like going back to that entrepreneur piece that we were talking about, and how you're built differently. There's sometimes you have to piece things together to make it work, and you have to get creative to make it work. And so if you're looking at wanting to start something like this, and you're like, gosh, like I just don't know how I'm going to do that. Like there's always a way. There's always a way to get the money, raise the money that you need to start what you're doing. There's investors that can help you. A lot of times, there's an out-of-the-box solution if you're willing to look for it. And I feel like that is something else that we didn't necessarily learn the hard way, but we've learned over the last year. Like there are people you can partner with that can help you get from where you're at to where you want to be. And there's ways that you can piece together things in your background or make certain sacrifices. And sometimes if you're willing to just buckle down and make those sacrifices and be like, I'm going to make those sacrifices, and at the end of the day, no matter what, I'm going to make this work. Having that faith and ultimately that belief in yourself above anything else has been what's gotten us a really long way in the last year.
No, absolutely. Being creative, which she's much better at than I am. Like, would I go back to my job? No, I think I'm glad we made the jump at the very least. We made the jump, and whatever happens, happens, but we won't have to think about, well, what if we would have done this, or what would have happened. We'll know. So, and I think with the determination that we have, we're going to be successful. So we just kind of looked at it. We don't have any other choice. So we're just going to push through, and we're going to be successful. But I don't know that I would have done necessarily anything different. Maybe the first month or two, maybe got a little more help, kind of get things moving, even just helping set up kennels, helping get the facility up and going, helping, and maybe if it was just some more help from family or something, I think that would have made things a little easier. Our first month or two was pretty.
It was rough.
It was rough on the family in general.
There was not a lot of sleep that happened in our life those first couple months, getting everything set up. It was just a lot of setting so many things up in the building to be able to get the doors open. The date we were hoping to get them open in time for to be able to start boarding, because we opened Labor Day weekend was our goal, to be able to be open by Labor Day weekend, and we had our software launch so we could start taking bookings like at the end of July to start preparing us for Labor Day weekend. So we already have bookings, and we knew we had to have the doors open by a concrete date. We had people on the calendar, and so there was just a lot of things that had to be set up in the building. But we buckled down and put teamwork in and got it all done.
Yeah, and as you get moving forward, like I feel like some things have gotten easier. Like you kind of have things in place, the facility's running, and then there's still things that we're figuring out day to day, things that we have to fix, things that we thought would work one way that aren't working that way, that we need to change, policies, procedures, all of that kind of stuff. We kind of do it day by day. What we think's working might work for a month or two, or might work when we have 15 dogs, but when you have 30 dogs, it's not going to work. So
I think you can write all of the policy and procedure in the world, and even as good as you get it and hone it in, there's always going to be something, a situation we can't always account for, that's going to pop up and be like, oh, well, now we need a policy for this, or this policy needs revised because of this. And so I feel like there's definitely things that have come up along the way where we thought we had a really good solid plan and policy in place, and we've just had to pivot a little bit. And being open to pivoting and putting those policies in place, if it's something you haven't thought about, is usually pretty easy to put together and implement. It's just you can't always plan for everything.
yeah.
So I feel like one of the things that we are really the most proud of is the facility that we built and why it was built the way that it was built. And so when Chris was looking at wanting to get a facility open, we kind of realized there was this hole in the market locally for us of what was being offered for boarding clients especially, and in the training world too. Like we have other friends that we're trainers with. There's other great trainers up and down the valley, but not as many trainers that really niched into that specialized training, which is Chris's. Just like when he gets in there with clients, and it's really cool to just see all of the knowledge that he has and see it being brought out of him and given to the clients that he serves. And so we felt like both in the training and the boarding world locally, there was just a hole in the market. And then we had this opportunity to be able to create something really amazing for pet parents, whether they're in need of training services or boarding. We epoxied
the floors so pee and poop doesn't seep into the concrete. We put huge fan systems in so that we can pull a ton of outside fresh air into the building, push out the air. It gets humid in there with spraying. When we spray the kennels, we don't mop anything. I shouldn't say we don't mop, we can mop, but we set it up to where we can spray
and
squeegee everything. So we spray, we use Rescue as our cleaner, put Rescue down, we deck brush everything every day, and then we spray it all down and we squeegee everything dry. We have dryers, we have green light therapy. We do green light therapy at night. It's supposed to help with anxiety and stress, even for dogs.
Yeah.
So our whole bay glows green at night. We do aromatherapy. We have some lavender that diffuses.
It's a lavender and chamomile solution that's diffused in there. And I am really into holistic things, and I feel like boarding, even under the best circumstances for a dog, it's stressful. Yeah, like they're away from their family, they're away from their people. And so if we can utilize our green light therapy, which like Chris said looks really cool when the bay glows green at night, to help reduce that anxiety for them, and we can utilize aromatherapy with lavender and chamomile, and we can utilize sound therapy to help soothe and calm their nervous system.
We play dog music that's actually made for dogs.
Yeah.
Helps lower their heart rate, keep them calm.
Soundtracks that are scientifically proven, right? You went to a class on that when we were in Vegas.
Yep. And then we have anti-fight kennels, so all the kennels have panels so the dogs can't see each other. Some of the taller dogs can look up and look over, but for the most part, the dogs can stay in the facility or in the kennels and don't necessarily see each other, which helps keep them way calmer. We have NASA-graded air filtration or air purifiers.
Yeah, air filtration.
Yeah, that we run 24/7. We have, what else do we have? Heating and cooling in all the bays.
Controlled bays. Yeah. Then, in addition to just what we have in the boarding area, we've got 3 huge play yards that the dogs can play in, whether they're here for daycare or boarding. We've got dog treadmills, so especially our more working breed dogs that need they need to get some extra energy out on days that maybe we're not doing as much work. Or even on days that we've worked and they just are a little more amped up, like Chris can take them back. He can get them on an electric treadmill or a self-propelled treadmill. And so we have things like that in the facility. Lots of enrichment activities for dogs when they're in our care, brain puzzles.
Yeah, tons of enrichment activities. We got about 20 different things you could pick from. All kind of directed to, we try to make that specific to the dog and what we think the dog would enjoy. I mean, some of them that are here, their enrichment activity is literally snuggling. Mm-hmm. Like they don't want to play with the ball, they don't want treats, they just want somebody to sit with them and love with them or love them. We'll have them come behind the desk or front desk sometimes, and so they can hang out with people. Mm-hmm. So our facilities, I mean, absolutely beautiful. We were able to set it up how we wanted, and we have, I mean, water sources front and back of every unit or every bay. We have pretty much anything you can think of. So far, we've been really, really lucky. We have about 18 outside kennels. At some point, we'll try to have 20 or 25 outside kennels. A lot of them are the 10 by 10 kennels, so they're bigger kennels that the dogs can have outside kennel time in. They can run around outside, not have to be cooped up in the facility, and can be unsupervised out there. Our yard time and that kind of stuff is all supervised. So, but we have a pretty amazing facility.
We do, and I think one of my favorite things about it is that we were able to spend so much time together, putting so many details and small touches into it to be able to just create this really beautiful experience for the dogs in our care and the pet parents who trust us to care for them. And so for any of you who aren't familiar with us and our facility, Idaho Elite Canine Training and Boarding Suites, we have a really great facility tour that's posted on our socials. So it's posted on our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're not local to us, or you even are local to us and just haven't been able to stop by, like, we would love for you guys to go check that out and see that full behind the scenes tour of the facility, and be sure to also follow us on those social channels, and you can even email us if you email us and let us know what you think. Like, we'd love to hear that interaction.
Yeah, I think we'd like to at some point, like as we continue with these, have, you know, once a month or something, or however we figure it out, where we actually maybe answer questions that people are asking and that kind of stuff. So sending stuff in, at some point we'll be happy to try to answer the questions that we can.
Yeah, which kind of leads me to where I was going next, just kind of visiting with our listeners about what they could expect from our podcast going forward. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to break that down and let them know what they can expect.
Yes, our podcast is going to be for if you own a dog and you want to tune into how we train, how to work on things, how to train your dog. We're going to be posting stuff about that. We're going to be doing videos about that. On our socials and stuff, we'll be posting. On YouTube, we'll have training videos, that kind of stuff. Our podcast, we'll be talking about training. So the podcast, I guess what I was going for the podcast is for anybody that owns a dog, all the way up to people that own a training or boarding business that just want to learn more, and everybody in between. So we're going to be going over, basic obedience, advanced obedience. We can get into bite dogs, drug dogs, bomb dogs, detection in general, tracking. We do AKC, odors. We're doing a diabetic dog. We're doing all sorts of stuff. So this is going to be everything from basic, hey, I just want my dog to listen to me, all the way to advanced, working dogs, detection, bite work, and everything in between.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about the podcast is with your background and all Chris has done, be it pet dogs, hunting dogs, police canines, and everything in between. Like, whether you're a pet parent who's recently got a puppy and wants to learn to start training, or you're a fellow a fellow dog trainer and a fellow canine handler, we've got something that can be educational and hopefully entertaining for all of you along the way. And then, for those looking to maybe get into this type of business and wanting to get more into dog training or open a facility, or even just looking into, entrepreneurship in general, even if it's outside of the niche, we have a lot of prior business experience, and I think it will be great to be able to share what's worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, what's helped us grow, and what's helped us get to where we are today. And so I think it'll be great to do like some training deep dives and some industry interviews with experts on whatever topics we're talking on, and
we'll try to bring people in and
success stories from prior clients and people that we know, just people that have worked with us, and getting to share those things. I think
we're gonna do all sorts of
will
stuff.
Be really cool, and even being able to share like marketing and business
what
tips.
Worked for us, what has really worked in marketing for us, because we spend a fair amount of money in marketing right now. So what's worked, what hasn't worked, what we're trying, and that could be for any business, right?
Yeah.
But I think we're going to talk about everything, and we look forward to everybody following us and watching our podcasts, jumping on our socials and following us, and just watching our journey as we continue.
Yeah, it will be great to just have you guys with us along the way while we share really all of that with you. And I think I'm really looking forward to doing the Q&A episodes. That'll be really fun to have people send their questions and answers in, and us be able to help answer those for you guys. So if you do have questions or topics that you're wanting us to cover as we're looking forward to planning out our podcast episodes in the future, please feel to send them our way. Again, you can reach us on our socials or email them to us at support@idahoelitecanine.com. I thought it would be cool if we just put it out there that if you're a business owner, or you're someone who's thinking about getting into the dog training world or the dog boarding world, be that in home or a facility, or you're looking at opening a facility, we just thought it would be kind of cool if you wanted to DM us at Idaho Elite Canine with just kind of what you feel like has been your biggest challenge with getting going with where you're at with that. So again, you can DM us at Idaho Elite Canine, or you can email us at support@idahoelitecanine.com. So ultimately, this podcast is really all about what we've learned from building this business together and training dogs and everything else in between, and we're really excited to take you along for the ride with us. So please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, and you can find us if you're looking for more information on our training and boarding services. We do have 2 websites. So the training website is www.idahoelitecanine.com, and on the boarding side it's www.idahoelitecanineboardingsuites.com, and we'll also list all of that down in the description. Be sure to make sure if you do follow us and subscribe to those episodes that you're rating our podcast as we get going. And next time we're going to be deep diving into the working dog versus the pet dog and what's the difference. So we're really excited to bring that to you in our next episode, and we can't wait to dive in a little deeper with everyone. So
thanks for watching and listening to our first podcast, and we will get better as this goes on.
Yes.
So bear with us.
Thanks for supporting us and listening to us along the way. We really appreciate it.